Cancer got you down? Pretty grim, huh? How about a show that turns the grim into a grin? Way to go! You made it here to the Cancer and Comedy Podcast, the show to lift you up with hope and humor that heals.
Well, hey there, lifter uppers. I'm Deb Krier, the co-host of Cancer and Comedy, where our mission is to heal cancer impacted people through hope and humor, something we like to call turning the grim into a grin. Well, today on Cancer and Comedy, we are going to have a live discussion. We love it when we do these with my friend Christina Vidovitch from the Women's Health, Wealth, and Happiness podcast. Christina is an expert on mindfulness and addressing anxiety with meditation. What's more, she is an entertainer. We're going to ask her about that, who brings a lot of fun and energy as she inspires women in particular to have a fulfilled life. Who knows what her alter ego, Sylvia Torstentin, I did not say that right, might even pay us a visit. So now, here is the host of the Cancer and Comedy Podcast, Dr. Brad Miller.
Hey, thank you, Deb. It's an honor and a privilege to be with you. I'm excited about today. We've got the wonderful Christina with us. She and I met at a Podfest event a few months ago, and I even met her buddy Sylvia as well. And we're gonna have a lot of fun here together because she deals with some of the areas that you and I like to talk about a lot, which has to do with how people handle stress and anxiety in their life. Sometimes it's caused by cancer. Sometimes it's caused by some other stressors in life. Might be a mental health thing, a job-related thing, divorce, relationship issues, workplace kind of things. A lot of times we talk about health-related things, but it almost always revolves around some sort of stress or anxiety. And Christina is going to help us share a little bit about how she has some approaches in meditation and some other things like that can be helpful to this, to help to calm us down. We love to do that because we like to take all kinds of innovative and different approaches to helping people deal with that which eats them up alive. Cancer, by definition, is kind of the multiplication of cells which eats us up alive physically. But you and I believed, it can happen all kinds of ways as well. But we do know that one of the best ways of dealing with that is to replace it or to respond to it with a positive attitude, something we like to call coping with hope. And we like to develop our community here around this area. And we hope that people will always go to cancerandcomedy.com/follow and follow us. And you and I and the other people, and check out a lot of the other guests we've had here in Cancer and Comedy. As we like to say, turn the grim of whatever you're going through into the grin of celebrating life. And so that's what we're here to do. But one of the things we like to do, Deb, is to have dumb dad jokes. And so let's have a couple. Are you ready for some dumb dad jokes?
I wait all week to hear the dumb dad joke.
You're just on the edge of your seat. You're just ready. Everybody is. It's so popular. Okay. Why do skeletons never get angry?
I don't know.
Well, nothing gets under their skin.
Cute.
What? One more here. Just one more. Why? What did the Dalmatian say after lunch?
I don't know.
Now that really hit the spot.
Cute. I love these. Like I said, I wait all week for these. I don't know what that says about my life, but
Well, who's our guest today? Tell us a little bit more about her, and let's bring her on here.
Well, I met Christina through being a guest on her podcast. And look, there she is. And she is such a wonderful, delightful, funny, caring woman. I mentioned that she has her alter ego, Sylvia Torstein, and we'll hear a little bit from Sylvia. But Christina has dealt with anxiety. And one of the things that she wants to help us, and in particular women, do is deal with that anxiety. And so she's developed several different ways for us to be able to cope. And so please join us in welcoming Christina to the program. Hello, my darling. How are you?
Hey,
Terrific.
welcome.
Thank you, Deb. Thank you, Brad. I am so excited to be here. You two are so delightful. And when I think about skeletons in the closet, I think it's because, well, they never come out. That's, the
Right,
start right there.
right. Yeah, I know.
There
We
you go.
forget that they don't have skin to get under. Right, right. I
There
love
you
it.
go.
I love it. Well, you do have such a great background. So just tell us a little bit about your background and then we'll kind of jump into it because that's what leads us here.
Absolutely. Wow, that's a long story, but here's the shortened version. So my schooling actually was in psychology. I
Okay.
went and I was interested in developmental psychology. I love working with children as well as autism, gender
Mhm,
studies. Those
mhm,
were my focuses. But as an empath, it's
mhm.
very difficult to
Right.
take on
Mhm,
those emotions and working with
mhm,
people.
mhm,
So I ended up in the entertainment, into
mhm,
ballroom dancing and another life, as Sylvia came along there too, with traveling.
mhm.
So with all of those things, you just never know what life is going to bring
Right.
along to you.
Mhm,
And we're talking about anxiety. I realized younger on in my 20s as I started my business and I'm away from my family now in a different state. You're doing all those things and you're depending on yourself and you're going through these emotions and you don't know. And what's the biggest thing that we forget to do? Stop and ask for help. And it
right.
doesn't matter if it's a psychologist, a best friend,
Mhm,
your parents, if they're around,
mhm, mhm,
someone that you can talk to about those
mhm,
things. And then finding that strength within ourselves.
mhm,
I ended up starting my business after going through a loss with my father. The first
mhm,
part was him having a stroke.
mm.
My father had a stroke, and I was told after visiting him in the hospital, you don't need to be there. You have clients that are more
Right.
important,
Mhm, mhm,
right? This is
mhm,
my father.
mhm. Nothing
And
is more important. Mhm,
nothing, because he followed up with another stroke 2 weeks
mhm,
later,
mhm.
followed by another one, which happened on Father's Day.
Oh, no.
When he,
Mhm,
when he went into septic shock,
mhm,
we found out he had scabies from a nurse who hadn't been washing her hands or wearing gloves, going from patient to patient,
mhm,
which caused his
mhm,
problems.
mhm,
And so I looked at my mother, who's a pediatrician,
mhm,
and saw her crying. And I said,
mm.
oh, something's wrong. My mother
Right.
has dealt
Mhm.
with
Yeah, she is
all types
a
of
tough
situations.
person. Mhm,
Yes. And so to see that moment, that was my life changer.
mhm,
And how and what am I going to do? Because I
mhm.
need to be there for my father. So
Right.
I began working on the next piece of my life and
Mhm,
saying, I'm going to open my own business.
mhm,
And with that, not only will you have your spring break and your winter break, you will
mhm.
have all the family time that you need because there's nothing more important than being there
Right.
and supportive
Mhm,
of your
mhm.
family.
Right.
And you know from both of your
Mhm,
experiences that your support system
mhm.
is integral to the healing process.
Right. Right.
So when mom says you need to come home now,
You're there. Mhm,
you're
mhm.
there,
Right.
and
Mhm,
so that was such a life changer for
mhm,
me and how I've dealt with life and embracing it, first
mhm,
of all, because it's been 21 years since I lost my father,
mhm.
but not a day goes by that he's not with me in some way, some form.
Right. Mhm, mhm,
And with that being the beginning of my business, the end of my business had to close due to the closures.
mhm.
And
Right. Yeah, you couldn't
I
couldn't ballroom dance when we couldn't be in the same room with people. Mhm,
exactly. So the anxiety riddled within me
mhm.
to the point where I was scratching
Oh.
myself. And
Mhm.
what's interesting is I learned later that that's something that runs in our family.
Mm, mm.
Anxiety. My
Mhm,
uncle, I don't know if I should tell this story, but I'll tell it anyway because he won't see this. When he was dating somebody that made him nervous, he
mhm.
everywhere she touched him,
Mhm.
holding hands, he suddenly had itchy hands. And he goes, I
Ah,
can't do this anymore.
mhm,
He's like, I love you,
mhm.
but you're
I'm not
pressuring
gonna
me.
have any skin left. Mhm, right, right. Well, and I think so many people forget that anxiety is not just, "Oh, gee, I'm a little upset." Anxiety can be absolutely debilitating.
Yes. Absolutely, and that is where I was finding myself with sleepless nights
Mhm,
and with this rash that was showing up now on my face. I'm
mhm.
like, "Oh, this isn't good. I
No.
need to
Mhm,
figure this out."
mhm,
So I actually started by doing little 1-minute videos
mhm,
called 1 Minute Calm, and I would
mhm,
film the flowers.
mhm,
And for that moment, take that moment to enjoy my life and the beauty that's around me.
mhm, mhm,
To look up in the clouds,
mhm,
film the
mhm,
clouds, and
mhm,
say, wow, there is
mhm,
no greater gift
mhm.
than the nature that's around
Right.
me.
Mhm,
And little by little, I watched my anxiety
mhm.
dissipate
Right.
just by being conscious of my moment.
Mhm. Right. Yeah, you were actually practicing mindfulness.
Yes.
So you kind of
And
are
then,
almost literally doing the stop and smell the roses type of thing. Is that kind of
Mhm,
part of this?
mhm,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And that is when I went into my meditation mindfulness podcast, the first
mhm,
one, where I really took 10 minutes out of my day, and it was
mhm,
self-healing. 10 minutes
mhm,
every morning, I'd
mhm,
wake up, I'd look at one of my videos and look at what was the phrase that I put for anybody who was watching that day.
mhm,
Here's a mountain. Are you ready
mhm,
to climb that mountain today?
mhm,
Take a moment and take a breath,
mhm,
because you don't have to climb it just
mhm.
today.
Right.
Take it step by step and smell the roses.
Mhm,
Look at the path,
mhm.
because nothing's greater than when you're going to be at the top of that mountain. And our life is a journey, right?
Mhm. Right, right. And you recorded all of these. And so I love that because if people are struggling to do that on their own, it's, easy to at least start with what you've got. And one of the things that you said really struck me, the videos are a minute. I think sometimes we always think, oh, we have to sit and we have to spend an hour cogitating our navels, right? And a minute really can make a huge difference. And I think that's especially important to somebody who might be going through cancer treatments because sometimes all we have is a minute, before we're taken in or we're sitting in the doctor's office waiting for somebody to come talk to us. Just sitting and spending a minute thinking about the roses, the pattern on the wall, the whatever it might be to calm ourselves down.
Yeah, exactly. And it's those minutes, and that's all it is, sometimes a minute. And that's one
Mhm,
of the things I mentioned when I would do my mindfulness exercises. They
mhm,
were 10 minutes long. I'm like,
mhm,
take 10 minutes for yourself.
mhm.
24 hours
Right.
in a day. We can
Mhm,
take
mhm.
10 minutes to
Yeah,
just,
10 minutes is not a lot. Mhm.
yeah, breathe
Right.
and say,
Mhm,
wow, what am I thankful for? If you want to make
mhm,
that phone call today,
mhm.
take 10 minutes to go, I only have
Right.
10 minutes,
Mhm,
but I want to say, hello, I love you.
mhm. Right.
Chris,
Yeah.
Christian, I wanted to just ask you there, have you had anybody who's responded to you about, the
Mhm,
meditations that you've done, the 1 minute or the calming
mhm,
meditations? Has anyone kind of
mhm,
responded to you saying, Christina, thank you for
mhm,
sharing this. How's this help? This has helped me, or
mhm.
some result of that. Do you have any stories along
Yeah,
that line?
I do. A good friend of mine, a longtime friend of mine, who we just rekindled our relationship in the last 2 to 3 years, started listening to them and went from a very angered, triggered person to a very calm person. She said, I have
Mhm,
learned to stop and take a breath before I
mhm,
utter words
mhm.
that might be
Right.
mean
Mhm,
or hurt
mhm,
somebody's
mhm,
feelings, and just go, take a beat
mhm,
and go,
mhm,
regain my
mhm,
conscious thought, and
mhm.
not just go from my gut
Mhm,
feeling of blah.
mhm, mhm. Right. And that's I think, as we're dealing with cancer, that's one of the things that I think many people experience is the anger, the why me, the feeling of being out of control. And, just taking a minute, 10 minutes, whatever it is that you've got, and thinking, I've got this. I am in control. That brings us back down. And of course, then when that happens, our blood pressure drops, right? Because they don't let you leave the doctor's office if your blood pressure is too high. And all of these things, but it just it helps us calm. And then when we're calm, everybody around us tends to calm also.
Agreed. And recently, I've taken care of my aunt through 2
Mhm.
knee replacements and a hip
Mhm.
replacement.
Mhm.
So being a caregiver,
Mhm. Right.
when someone's in
Mhm.
pain
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
just taking that minute to go,
Mhm.
"This is not you."
Mhm.
They're having a moment where they
Mhm.
need to be listened to,
Right.
and they need
Mhm.
to go through
Mhm.
that moment. So
Mhm.
smile, just
Mhm.
take that breath,
Mhm. Mhm.
let them feel, so
Mhm.
that now we can both
Right.
accomplish whatever it is
Mhm.
that they need to accomplish.
Right. And I love that you mentioned caregivers because I always tell people there are superheroes, right? You mentioned we couldn't get through this without them, but they're under an unbelievable amount of stress because not only are they doing what they're normally doing, they're taking care of whiny, cranky people with icky things going on, right? And so your techniques, your videos are just as important for them as they are for the person who's experiencing whatever it is.
Exactly. And I'm just going to toot you as a guest on my podcast because that's the reason that I started the Women's Health, Wealth, and Happiness,
Mhm,
because it's about our shared experiences.
mhm,
When we have
mhm,
the opportunity to listen to somebody
mhm,
else, when we're not
mhm,
ready to talk ourselves
mhm,
about what we're going through,
mhm.
it's an opportunity to go, oh,
Right.
wow, I'm not alone. And
Mhm,
so I
mhm,
can listen to Deb's story
mhm,
and how brave she's been. And here it is almost 10 years later
mhm,
going through this journey.
mhm,
And there is nothing more wonderful to me than
mhm,
to be able to share those pieces.
mhm,
And those who are ready to talk about
mhm.
come in just like you
Right,
are. And I
right.
love that.
Mhm. Well, and thank you. But we are the Cancer and Comedy podcast. So let's switch to the other side now because we need both, right? We need to calm ourselves, but as we know, we also need to laugh at ourselves, at the situation, all of those things. So tell us, introduce us to Sylvia Torstein and explain to us a little bit about your alter ego.
Well, Sylvia can come in just a moment, but yes, Sylvia was developed simply for the joy of laughter.
Mhm,
That is absolutely, she loves life. She grabs it by the horns. She says things that never know what's going to come out of her mouth all anytime, but
mhm,
that is wonderful of who she is. She loves
mhm,
traveling. She loves to imbibe a bit,
mhm, mhm.
cruising, and karaoke.
Ah, mhm,
And I think it's kind of cool. You've integrated you have a psychology background.
mhm,
You have this meditation aspect and ballroom dancing and so on, and entertainment. They're all integrated here,
mhm,
and somehow the mix from my eye, it seems to work.
mhm,
So that's awesome, and that's kind of where we like to live.
mhm,
Deb and I do kind of an intersection, that
mhm,
space between kind of the tragedy and the triumph there,
mhm.
and sometimes that's the comedic there.
Right.
So
Mhm.
awesome.
Right. You know,
Absolutely.
and we joke, we laugh, all of those things. But why did you decide that you needed an alter ego and that, you weren't just expressing what Sylvia expresses?
That's a very good question.
The good little girl there, right? Who behaves and never mhm,
Exactly.
mhm,
Now, when Sylvia comes out, you know it's
mhm,
me, but it is an
mhm,
opportunity for me to say the things that I can't say as Christina.
mhm. I love
And
that.
when you're in ballroom in particular, where it's
Mhm,
all about the
mhm.
posing and the
Oh,
smiles,
yes, and
there's
everybody's very serious and mhm. Yeah,
exactly.
Dancing with the Stars, my favorite show, right? Mhm.
Yes, there are no words that come out of your mouth. You're just
Mhm.
smiling and holding your trophy.
Right. Mhm,
But then when you get to hear the speaking, you go,
mhm.
"Oh, I didn't even know
Yeah,
that existed."
mhm. Yikes. Mhm, mhm,
So Sylvia comes out and she's going to have fun with you.
So
So
where did Sylvia first appear?
on a cruise ship,
Ah.
she actually was inspired by somebody that I was on a cruise ship
Mhm.
with a group of ballroom dancers. And I was, for lack of a better term, in love with this woman and the absurdity of her speech to
Mhm,
strangers that
mhm.
she didn't know, and
I
just said
know.
whatever was in here came
Mhm,
out here.
mhm, mhm,
And so Sylvia was born that night.
mhm,
I don't know her last name. The woman's name was Sylvia.
mhm,
And I adopted her and then blossomed into this new
mhm,
character. Now, some people
mhm,
want to liken it to another character that used
mhm,
to be on Saturday Night Live, and that's okay. But
mhm,
Sylvia is her own
mhm.
version of ridiculousness,
Right.
because
Mhm,
if we don't laugh in life, we'll
mhm.
cry.
Right. Yeah, yeah. And I have a small alter ego. And I have no idea where it came from at all. When you go in, they what's your name and date of birth. Now, I when I have to be serious, obviously I am because I don't want to freak anybody out. But I'm Anastasia Beaverhausen. And she's very proper and but she's I mean, with and somebody said a character on Will and Grace was named Anastasia Beaverhausen, so maybe that's where it came from. But and it's funny because in the infusion room, in the treatment room, they've decided that she is Princess Anastasia Beaverhausen. And so, of course, we must do the queen wave. And she comes out when I'm needing a little bit of support, right? And she kind of takes charge and runs everything. And so I love that we kind of do that. And so, but I think it's time. Brad, don't you think it's time that we meet Sylvia?
Well, I think Sylvia kind of scares me, I got to say. So I've seen Sylvia before, and I tell you what. Here's my little background on Sylvia. She reminds me in as much as Sylvia's has a little bit of dance instructor, and I am scared to death of dance instructors. And here's my little story on that. 10 years ago, my daughter got married, and I'm a pastor. I did the
Mhm,
I did the
mhm,
vows
mhm,
and did all that stuff. That was fine. But the scariest part about the whole wedding experience was the dance with my daughter, the dad daughter dance.
mhm,
And my
mhm,
daughter put us signed us up for a dance. I'm not, I am your basically. I'll get up there and boogie a little bit, but I'm not a
mhm,
dancer by any means. But my biggest fear of my whole wedding experience with my daughter was you know, tripping over
mhm.
her or falling down. So she put us in dance lessons for like 12 weeks, something like that. And our dance instructor was like an Eastern European woman. I called her
Oh
Helga.
my.
I called her Helga,
Mhm.
and I think
She
it's from
seems like a
Romania.
Helga. Mhm,
Romania, but she was demanding. She said,
mhm.
"Mr. Miller, you will learn these steps. You will learn them by next week. You will
She
ruin your
will
daughter's.
enjoy it.
You will ruin your daughter's wedding, and so on and so forth." So I was scared to death. So I'm kind of scared of Sylvia, and because it reminds me a little bit of Helga here. But I don't. Should I be scared of Sylvia?
Nah, but if you give me 30 seconds, Sylvia will come into the room.
All right.
All
All
right.
right.
Here,
We got to do a little preparation for Sylvia. And what I love is that we find ways to laugh at the situation, at ourselves. Whatever it is, we find those ways to do that. And I just love that sometimes we have these alter egos who can do things that we can't always. And I think some of that probably came from when we were children, right? And we had invisible friends. The invisible friends would do and say things that we
right.
couldn't do. But yeah, it's I love this. And you of course you've seen Sylvia in person, correct?
Oh yeah, she's something else. I'll tell you that much. So we'll see that. It did remind me a little like this Helga character. I have fun with it now, but at the time, oh my goodness! I
In
think,
person! Sylvia's here in person,
oh
right for
my,
you two
Sylvia!
beautiful people.
It is
oh
so
my,
nice to meet you,
oh
Sylvia. How are you doing today?
It's nice to meet me too. I'm
wow.
fabulous. I'm
You
fabulous.
are
Deb,
fabulous.
Deb,
Mhm.
I'm a hair person, and the red looks gorgeous on you.
Thank you,
It's your
madam.
color. It's your color. And Brad, I love what you're doing with the earphones.
Yeah, yeah,
You
you
look
like
like a
that? You
real
like that? To
podcaster.
look official here. Wow,
You're
Right, right.
you're
I'm just doing it.
official.
I'm just doing it for you, Sylvia. Just trying to impress you.
You're, you're making me blush, Brad. You're making me blush. Mm,
I know.
You're
mm.
So Sylvia, tell us a little bit about your life. We asked and we asked Christina about hers. Tell us a little bit about your life.
Well, let's see. I was on Broadway. I was a
Of
oh,
dancer
course.
on Broadway,
Mhm, mhm.
And so, look, my lights are just showing. Look at that. I look like an alien.
Yeah, I was
So,
about to say.
those lights are so big and so,
The
loving
Broadway
of
lights.
me. Yes,
Mhm,
yes.
mhm.
So I was on Broadway. I was Broadway for many a years, and then I used to do the local cable TV. Mm,
Mm,
they loved me
mhm.
there. And then I said, you know what? It's time to start traveling. So then I started the travel channel. Not the
Ah,
travel channel, the touring channel. Oh, don't get those
yes,
2 mixed
there you
up.
go.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's a
Mhm,
trademark on the other one. Yes,
mhm,
yes, the touring channel because my name is
mhm.
Sylvia Torstein. And then I
Right.
started to go around the world and meet all kinds of gorgeous people, some nice
Mhm,
pool
mhm.
boys, some other friends,
We
somebody to
like
put
those
some
pool
sunscreen
boys.
lotion on you because
Mhm,
you can't get burnt when you're
mhm.
out there. It's
No,
not
yes,
the
yes.
thing
You
to
must
do.
protect
Can't
that
have that.
delicate, beautiful skin.
No, no.
Mhm.
Then you get the skin cancer.
Oh my
We don't
goodness.
need
Yeah.
that.
No, we don't
No,
We
want that.
had
no.
that. We had that here, and I was like, "Ew, ew." Mhm,
So that's what I've been doing recently. And now
mhm,
the little bit of the touring comedy I've been doing as well, showing myself.
mhm.
Oh, in the karaoke, we're bringing back the karaoke.
All
Yes,
right.
yes.
Sylvia.
Mhm.
Yes, Sylvia's going to start showing up live every Friday night on the YouTubes.
Oh
On the
goodness.
YouTube. Well,
On the
good,
Yes,
good.
YouTubes. Doing
So
yes.
are there any what genre do you like? You
what?
don't
Yeah.
seem like a country and western or rap. So what is your genre?
Yeah.
Broadway tunes?
What's your go-to thing on you on
Mhm.
karaoke? Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Mamma mia, here I go again. Mama, how could I resist you?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Awesome.
Oh, my
Oh.
swooning here. Mhm,
You
mhm,
you give me that 70s, 80s, I'm in love. I'm gonna sing
Oh,
to
mhm,
you all night
mhm.
long.
ABBA all
I
'Cause
love
night.
it. Mhm,
ABBA
mhm.
all the
all night.
time. There
Mm.
you
Oh,
go.
yeah.
Money, money, money. Oh, no, I shouldn't sing
Oh,
that
yeah.
one.
Oh, yeah. We love ABBA. And it's funny because when we were talking with your friend Christina about ballroom dancing, of course, I grew up in the 70s and the 80s with disco, right? So that's what I learned to do. The do 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 boop
and
boop do 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 boop boop, right?
believe it or not, I
And
used to be a '70s
mhm.
disc jockey playing disco
Yes,
and all
we
that
spun
stuff.
those
That's what I
tunes.
did back in the day. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm seeing a road trip. I'm thinking the three of us need to do some type of road
There
trip.
you go. There you go.
get your platform shoes and let's go.
Oh,
Mhm,
I had
In the
mhm.
those. I had the
disco
bell.
floor I don't love.
I had the bell bottoms and the big flowery shirt, and still got them in my closet somewhere. And of course,
Oh, yeah.
the light blue leisure suit. You got to have that too if
Mhm,
you're a guy. Yeah.
mhm.
You're you're in my heart,
The
Brad. I
powder,
mean, I'm just
the
like,
powder
"Ooh."
blue leisure.
I'm not sure I can pull off a mini skirt now, though.
Well,
You'd look fabulous, Deb. You'd look fabulous.
Well,
thank,
thank you. Yeah,
thanks,
That's your job.
things
mhm,
change, but
mhm,
that's awesome. Well, what an awesome to have Sylvia come and visit with us, and that is an awesome thing. And what I love is this whole integration, as it were, of some of the stuff that
mhm,
Christina was talking to us about meditation and so on, and Sylvia
mhm,
entertaining and have a lot of fun because life is too short to
mhm,
have a bummer, right? Life is just too
mhm.
short to to
Preach.
to
Great.
not take advantage of it. And what we really like
Mhm,
to teach here on Cancer and Comedy is that you're not done yet.
mhm,
Whatever your
mhm.
situation is,
Right.
whether it's losing, I know that Christina lost a business to the COVID crisis. Other
Mhm,
people have lost their health and things like that. But wherever you're at in life, that's where you're at, and keep
mhm,
going, keep at it, and
mhm.
have some
Right,
fun. And if you need
right.
to, but if you need to go
If we need
do
to
do,
boogie.
if you
Mhm.
need to karaoke to ABBA, do it. Awesome.
I love it.
Boogie
You know,
nights. Boogie nights. Sorry.
yeah.
That's
A
our
little Donna Summer, a little, a little Dancing Queen. Oh
I
yeah,
love the
oh yeah.
nightlife. I got to
I like to
boogie.
yeah.
boogie. And of course we had to make the words up because we had no idea what they were saying, right? You know?
The question
Um,
is, was it because you were drinking too much or was it just too loud?
Too
yes,
loud, too
yes,
loud, because
yes.
I was a youngster, right, right? But how many of us, our proms were, Bee Gees theme, right? Oh yeah, we had several of those, and just all of those, and of course we swooned. Talk about swoon, John Travolta. Oh my gosh, right, right. But yeah, it shows all of this what we've been through, what we've learned from, and the resilience that we all have because of it.
It's
Well,
a beautiful thing.
I'd be curious, Sylvia, about what kind of advice would you give if you and Christina kind of teamed up together to someone who was kind of, stuck in their
Mhm,
former life. Maybe not, maybe if they're stuck in the
mhm,
70s in the sense of being just stuck in a bad place, but if they're stuck there, what kind of
mhm,
advice would Sylvia, maybe you and Christina together, give to somebody to get them unstuck and to live life
mhm.
to the fullest and have some fun? What kind of advice would you give them?
Do the thing.
Do the
Whatever
thing.
it is you've been thinking about, if you want to get on that cruise ship, you get on the cruise ship. If you want to go have a beautiful dinner at the five-star restaurant and dress as fancy as you like, quit waiting. Don't wait for the special occasion. Do the thing. Today's the day. Grab
Do
it.
I
do the thing. What do you think, Deb?
Or there's a song in there, I'm thinking.
Do the thing. I think
Mhm,
that's
mhm,
awesome. That's awesome. Well, I think that's kind of the theme. And
mhm.
which Sylvia just did is summed up a lot of what you and I work on here on the Cancer Comedy Podcast, right, Deb? To
It is.
live
Mhm,
life, have some
right.
fun with it.
Mhm,
You know, stuff happens, right? Whether it's
mhm,
cancer or
mhm,
other things, bad things
mhm.
happen, and you can either
Right.
go bad with it or you can
Mhm,
leverage it to
mhm,
something better in your life.
mhm,
We like to call it, among other things, turning the grim into a grin,
mhm, mhm,
but healing with hope and humor, things
mhm,
of that nature. But we
mhm,
love to be inspired, and so what
mhm.
we have here is a person, Christina, who is healing. Has this whole podcast about health and wealth and happiness. They all are integrated together, and
Mhm.
Sylvia comes into play here. Do the thing. I love it. What do you think, Deb? Do you think it's something we can share with our cancer and
It
comedy
is.
lifter uppers as a way to lift them up?
Yeah, it is. And I mean, just imagine the next time you go into your doctor's office, channel a little Sylvia, and talk to your doctor, and Sylvia's there to help you.
Or maybe even oh gosh, Deb, your alter ego is what?
Anastasia Beaverhausen,
Anastasia
a
Beaver. I've only
princess.
heard that a dozen times,
Yes,
but
yes,
the idea
mhm,
is to try
mhm,
to do whatever you need to do the
mhm,
thing
right.
to make it
Mhm,
work for you in
mhm,
stressful
mhm,
situations. And it kind of goes back. Sometimes it's the meditative thing, stop and smell the
mhm,
roses. Sometimes
right.
it's singing
Mhm,
karaoke. Sometimes it's being an alter ego. Sometimes it's
mhm,
just dancing or whatever
mhm.
it would be. And so I just want to say thank you, Sylvia, for being with us, and thank you to Christine,
Yes, tell
to Chris,
Christina thank you. Hmm.
and
I'll
I
let her
guess
know she's fabulous.
there you go. And so what we do want to share here, Deb, before we say goodbye here in a few minutes, is we do want to tell people that that we're put in our show notes how people can get a hold and find out
Yes.
more about Sylvia and of course about Christina and
Mhm.
about the Women's Health, Wealth, and Happiness podcast.
Happy
Yeah,
to toot your horn, my love.
yeah. Well, Deb, anything else you want to share?
No, I think has been great because more than anything, we brought a little levity today. And no matter what your situation is, find a way to laugh at it. And when it gets really serious, have those moments of calm and then move on and just do it.
Well, I want to thank Sylvia and Christina for being with us. Sylvia, we're going to give you one of the last words here. What do you have to share with our cancer and comedy audience here? Anything that you just want to lay it on us here?
Happy touring wherever you go. Find your happiness in life.
Thank you,
Oh my
Sylvia.
God. Well, lifter uppers, this brings us to the close of the Cancer and Comedy podcast. We could do this all day. It brings us to the close of this episode of the Cancer and Comedy podcast with Dr. Brad Miller. Cancer and Comedy is all about telling uplifting stories of people like you who are kicking cancer's butt with healing through hope and humor. You can join those of us who are turning the grim into a grin by telling us your uplifting story. Just go to cancerandcomedy.com/voice message and let us know your story. Well, that's
Hey,
it for now.
thanks for
Please
joining-
join us next time on Cancer and Comedy. And if you like what you hear, please pass this podcast on to someone in your life who needs to turn their grim into a grin. For Dr. Brad Miller, I'm Deb Krier, reminding you that a cheerful heart is good medicine.
Hey, thanks for joining us on the Cancer and Comedy podcast with Dr. Brad Miller. Make sure you visit our website, cancerandcomedy.com, where you can follow the show and get our newsletter. Like what you hear? Then tell a friend about Cancer and Comedy, the show that lifts your spirits with hope and humor that heals. Until next time, keep turning the grim into a grin.